Hello there. This is Two Wise Guys 5, and my name is John Francis.
And I'm Patrick Sanchez. Cheers.
Cheers to you, sir.
Salud, Don Caleo.
We got a subject here we're going to talk about, a very fun subject for us, basically. It's basically, who is the better actor, Robert De Niro or Al Pacino?
Woo, that's a tough one, man. That is tough. That's a debate that people talk about today. Who's the better basketball, Michael Jordan or LeBron James?
Who is the better basketball player?
That's another
video.
Yes.
So, De Niro, Pacino. Go for it.
Well, basically, what we're going to cover is some of their early iconic movies on both sides, and we're going to try to discuss if we could see one of the actor playing the other person's role.
Okay.
And at the end of this conversation, we'll try to make a decision who we think is the better actor, or what your opinion is on the better actor.
I think if you look at it, the early stages, De Niro made over 10 movies before he finally kicked in with, say, Mean Streets and Taxi Driver, or Godfather Part 2, I'm sorry. While Pacino...
I apologize.
I'm sorry. But Pacino, on the other hand, he did Panic in Needle Park, and then he skyrocketed with The Godfather, the second film.
Correct.
So,
Pacino's rise was very quick.
A to Z, while De Niro was a slow process.
Well, let's start. Okay, so let's start with Robert De Niro. He started with Mean Streets. That's his claim to fame. Can you see Al Pacino doing Mean Streets? What was the guy's name? Joey?
I don't remember, but I can see him doing Mean Streets.
You can see Pacino.
Yes, the early Pacino, not today, but the early Pacino that came out of Panic in Needle Park, is very similar to De Niro's character in Mean Streets.
All right. Okay, so you could see Robert De Niro play the drug addict Panic in Needle Park.
I could do that too, and
you could do that.
I could see that.
Oh, okay.
And Taxi Driver, for example, Pacino when he did his Michael Corleone. It's kind of a brooding character. So is a Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
So yeah, the early roles, yes.
Okay. So you could see Pacino playing. What was the Travis Tribbett, the Taxi Driver? What was his name?
Travis Bickle or something.
So you could see Al Pacino with the mohawk and that cynical look.
Yes, I can see all that.
Okay, good. The Deer Hunter.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Serpico. That's an iconic one for Al Pacino.
Yeah.
Can you see De Niro doing that?
I could see De Niro playing Serpico, but it really would have been a different Serpico.
And by the way, the real Frank Serpico looks a lot like Robert De Niro.
Interesting.
Back in those days.
Interesting. But
just a little bit of useless information.
Even though for people that grew up in the 70s, there was that poster of Serpico that made Pacino very iconic.
Correct. All right. Here's one of De Niro's biggest movies, Raging Bull.
I cannot see Pacino playing Raging Bull.
You know what? I have to agree with you. I cannot see Al Pacino gaining that weight, getting that physical. That was Robert De Niro's baby.
If you haven't seen it, the younger generation out there,
go get
Raging Bull. Incredible performance by De Niro. But no, I can't see Pacino playing that role.
No, you can't see Pacino playing that role?
Sorry. Exactly. I cannot see Pacino playing that role.
You're out of order!
Exactly.
And speaking of you're out of order, Justice for All. Al Pacino, he's this yelling attorney who's defending this corrupt judge, and he's yelling all over the place.
I guess De Niro could have played it, but it was not much of a role. But let's go on to some of the early roles that Pacino had. We mentioned Serpico.
Right.
We haven't mentioned The Godfather.
Well, okay, that's a good question. Would you think could De Niro have played Michael Corleone?
I'm sure he can. He's a talented actor.
He could play the dark brooding.
But the thing is, Pacino made Michael Corleone so much his own that I really don't see anybody else in there.
Could you have seen Al Pacino play the young Vito?
The young Vito?
Yes, in Godfather 2, the young Vito. That was De Niro's role.
Again, he's just as talented. He can do it. But De Niro looks more like the young Vito, I think.
Yeah, he transformed himself pretty well.
You know what's funny is that when they did The Godfather, Robert Evans, the producer, asked Francis Ford Coppola, the director of The Godfather, he was pushing for Warren Beatty, Robert Redford, and I forgot who the other actor was, but he pushed 4 big name actors to greenlight the movie, and yet Coppola went with the unknown, Pacino.
He stuck with Pacino.
And The Star Was Born.
In front of our eyes.
It's something to think about.
Goodfellas. We're talking about De Niro's role where he plays Jimmy Conway, which, by the way, that role was originally offered to Al Pacino. Al Pacino didn't want it because he didn't want to be stereotyped. So Scorsese gave it to De Niro as usual. Right. And this would have been a movie that Pacino would have done with Scorsese.
Untouchables, Capone. Would De Niro play Al Capone?
Can you see Pacino play that heavy-set Capone?
I've never seen Pacino gain weight for a role.
No.
Outside of that, yeah, I could see it. It kind of sounds like a Tony Montana thing without the accent. If I picture Pacino screaming and yelling as Capone, but hey.
Can you say hello to my little friend?
Tony Montana
Can you
and
say in Scarface?
I
Can
can't-
you see De Niro
No.
playing Scarface?
No.
So that is Al Pacino all the way.
Pacino made it his own. Pacino made it his own, and we talked about Pacino being a physical actor, which leads
No,
us to.
you De Niro, a physical actor.
I'm sorry, De Niro being a physical actor.
Let's get this right.
Exactly, De Niro in Cape Fear.
Again, is another physical. De Niro obviously is the more physical actor. He has a good range, but Pacino has a longer range where he could do accents. I've never seen Robert De Niro do any accents as a Hispanic or British or anything like that.
Pacino's more like emotional, while De Niro's more like a physical. But yeah, he got buffed up for Cape Fear. If you haven't seen Cape Fear, he played a very scary role.
Right. Scent of a Woman, the one that landed Pacino's first Oscar.
Incredible.
Booyah!
Something we got to mention about the Oscar.
Don't point.
I'm pointing. De Niro won an Oscar for Godfather Part 2 in the early years, won an Oscar for Raging Bull, and then Pacino got nominated 4 years in a row.
Got nothing.
And got nothing. Godfather 1, Godfather 2, Serpico, and I'm missing one. And Justice for All, but it wasn't that. Dog Day Afternoon.
Dog Day Afternoon. And we
then-
didn't even mention Dog Day Afternoon.
We haven't mentioned incredible performance. He was beat by Jack Nicholson by Cuckoo's Nest. But anyway, Pacino got his first Oscar finally.
Like 2 decades later.
Yeah, for Scent of a Woman, which is not his best role, but
It was a good role.
you asked. Yeah, it was a good role. It was a playful role, and that's where you were asking if De Niro could play Scent of a Woman, the
right.
blind
Yeah.
colonel. I say no.
No?
I say yeah. Obviously, he could play it, but De Niro doesn't have that playfulness that Pacino has. I don't think.
Yeah,
I mean,
like Pacino, especially in the later years, has become this yeller. You know, everything is hoo-yah! Great ass! De Niro's always been the calm, cool. He'll threaten you. I'll kick your ass. Listen to me carefully. I'll kick your ass.
Don't you give me no disrespect.
Right, no disrespect. I'll put a glass in your eye. Pacino has to tell you, hey, put a glass in your eye! Are you talking to me? You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, their early years were the best, but you know it's still fun to watch them.
You gotta watch them. And one movie that they did together that was this movie that Pacino and De Niro did was just the anticipation was as huge as you waiting for your first baby. Heat.
Exactly.
And on paper, you're talking about a guy. One is a detective, one is a crook, and it's like it's got to sell. And it was a good movie. I felt it could have done better, but it was good.
I was fully satisfied. The movie was a little long for me, but I liked the movie. Unfortunately, they only had one scene together.
Yes.
But somehow that kind of feels right in
Right.
retrospect. Back then, I said I would have liked to have seen them more
I
interact.
think they did it right.
But I think they did it right.
They gave it a nice touch of
One
class.
chases the other, and then finally they have
Their
one
encounter.
scene where they act together.
Right.
So, Heat, number one.
Good movie. Well, we're pretty much. I just got one question for you, Mr. John Franklin.
Yes.
After having this quick discussion on De Niro versus Pacino, and I hate to put you on the spot, but if you had to choose, who's your favorite actor? Who would you say it is?
Favorite? We said the better actor of the two.
Who's your favorite actor?
My favorite actor is Al Pacino.
Okay. And what was the other question you said?
No, who's the better actor between De Niro and Pacino?
Well, we said Pacino has a better stretch.
I mean, you introduced a question that I wasn't anticipating.
Hey,
Are there better actors than De Niro and Pacino?
Oh, well, I'm going to mention a gentleman by the name of Daniel Day-Lewis.
Incredible guy.
I mean, you can't knock that guy down. Well, let me ask you this. Who do you think has more iconic characters between Pacino and De Niro?
I say Pacino because you have Tony Montana, you have Michael Corleone. As far as De Niro, I don't know if Jake LaMotta is iconic.
He's got probably the best one-liners.
That's true.
Yeah.
You talking to me?
Right.
You talking to me?
Well, I think that's all we got.
No, yeah, okay. You asked me. We haven't answered the question. Who is the better actor, Pacino or De Niro?
I think we both agreed that it's Mr. Al Pacino.
No, you asked me who my favorite actor was. You didn't ask me who is the better actor, Pacino. Ask me.
Yeah.
Ask me.
Okay. Who's a better actor?
Al Pacino, and I'll tell you why.
Why?
Real simple and short. Look at three
Well,
performances.
actually, Pacino is short, but go ahead.
3 performances, and they're all gangsters.
Yes.
Tony Montana in Scarface, Michael Corleone in The Godfather, and Carlitos Brigante in Carlitos Way.
Right.
3 gangsters, 1 Puerto Rican, 1 Cuban, 1 Italian, and yet they all look different. Their body language.
And
their
Donnie
accents.
Brasco.
Donnie Brasco. He played Lefty in Donnie Brasco. Very different.
Right.
Okay? So, and just looking at that in itself, I say Pacino has more range. Now, who do you think is a better actor?
I think Al Pacino has a better range. Basically, everything you mentioned, he gets involved. Pacino can adapt accents quicker. I think De Niro's more of a transformist. He could transform himself physically to look like a truck driver, a boxer, a convict, etc., etc. Excuse me, I got a burp. But at the end of the day, they're both great actors with a lot of iconic characters, a lot of iconic one-liners that today everyone quotes more than Shakespeare, I would say.
But hats off to both of them, Al Pacino and Robert De Niro.
The best!
You're getting old, but we want to see more of you.
Right. Well, that was Two Wise Guys. My name is Patrick Sanchez.
And I'm John Franquist.
Good night.
Sayonara.